Hello Internet, I'm Ella, and if by some miracle you ended up on this channel, why not stick around and listen to a story? I hope you like Larp. So, I'm going to a LARPing event in a couple of months. If you don't know what LARP is, it stands for Geeks Who Love Escapism, or live action roleplay. And of course, I am one of those geeks. I play D&D and have a stack of tarot cards. So, honestly, I can't say much. But Ella, I hear you say, you haven't gone to the LARP yet. You haven't got anything to talk about. Well, actually, I want to talk about my very first LARP experience ever. It was called While the Light Lasts, and it's an interesting night. So let me set the scene. I was at school, scrolling through Pinterest, looking at dice, you know, what you're supposed to be doing on your study breaks, when my friend starts talking to me about how she's going to an event at her work, and that she has no one to go with. My friend worked at a museum. I'm not going to name which one because I'm not sure how positive I'm going to be in this video, but it's a museum with a bunch of cool old-fashioned stuff and a couple of boats. That should be enough of a hint for anyone in New Zealand to figure out which one I'm talking about. It was an 18+ party because there was going to be alcoholism. But most of our friends were still babies. Except me. Hurrah for having a birthday in May. My friend, who we'll call Dyla told me that the event was kinda like a dress-up party. Once you buy a ticket, you are given a character, and at the event you have to act as this character. So basically LARP. We excitedly bought our tickets. From what I can remember, they were like $20–30 bucks, and got our characters, and we were instantly confused. I was a cerulean futurologist, and my friend got eccentric hermit. After a little bit of research, we came down to the conclusion that my character was some kind of blue scientist that predicts the future, and Dyla was someone who really liked to stay indoors a lot. Relatable. We didn't get much of an explanation about our characters aside from that, so we didn't have a lot to go off of. We decided to go for more of a steampunk aesthetic, as we were told to dress vintage. Ah yes, an excuse to wear my steampunk goggles. When making my character's outfit, it was pretty simple. It was a blue dress with a grey overcoat, and of course I had my steampunk goggles on my head, which I couldn't wear with my glasses, but hey, they were mostly there for show, not for use. I also had this cool steampunk earring, and finally, the coolest detail, a little book. Now, while brainstorming how I wanted to play this character, I came up with the idea that she could be a crazy conspiracy theorist. Someone who's always mumbling about the end of the world. You know, kinda like what's happening right now. So what's the importance of this book? Well, all I did was chuck it at my friends and told them to write some stupid theories in it. And oh boy, did they deliver. Flicking through the book is one of my favorite things to do. It's also a nice memory because I don't really hang out with the people who wrote in this anymore. Dyla and I made our characters' backstories intertwined, so I will try my best to relay the backstories from what I can remember. Of course, this won't be 100% accurate to what we agreed on back then. It's been like years and I have the memory of a goldfish. I'm basically a human version of Dory. Also, I don't think our characters had names. In my own headcanon of this, the characters are just us from an alternate dimension, so I'm just going to give them our names, and that's what they are. So here we go. Ella begins her work as a brand new futurologist and joins a research company that not only makes predictions, but also tests out new inventions. She is partnered with her superior, Dyla, and she basically works as her assistant for a couple of years. Then, during a risky experiment, something goes horribly wrong and a lot of people get hurt. Dyla takes all the blame and tarnishes her own name so that Ella doesn't have to lose her job. Dyla then goes into hiding and becomes a hermit. Ella got pretty injured in the experiment, and went a little cuckoo. She now makes outlandish theories about the future and is constantly paranoid that she is being watched. The company has not fired her yet, but she is known as the office weirdo. Now that I've explained the characters, let's get on to the event. So, the story of this LARP is that there's this new transdimensional cruise ship that can jump through different dimensions. So, a lot of characters were getting on board this ship to escape their old lives and get a fresh start. Dyla got on board to see if she could travel back in time and stop herself from doing the dangerous experiment, while Ella saw Dyla getting on board and thought, I better follow. After boarding, we were given name tags and envelopes. We were told not to open them yet. After mingling with the strange characters on board, everyone looked so cool. The captain informed us that the ship was stuck and something wasn't allowing us to proceed, which means everyone on this boat is stuck forever and will never be able to return to their desired timelines. Then we were told to open our layers. I'll show you mine. After reading these, we were told to do what the layer says and meet our game master. All of the event guests were split into teams of 7. Dyla and I were part of the Mystics team, and we had to go meet the disgraced Chamberlain. After running through the museum trying to find the coastal trade, we found the Chamberlain waiting for us. She was wearing a bonnet and a dark dress, and had the kind of attitude of a retail worker who wasn't getting paid enough for this. We excitedly greeted her, and she forced a smile and told us we couldn't start until we had all 7 of our members. But there were only 4 of us. We waited around for our party, but they didn't show up. The Chamberlain began to get pissed off and grumbled about how we were going to be behind the other teams if we did not start soon. Dyla and I thought this was unacceptable, and we ran off to go find our missing teammates. The other 2 people in our group were a nice couple who also volunteered to help us look for them. We decided to split up. The couple would look on the left side of the museum and we would look on the right side. We met back with the Chamberlain in about 5 minutes. It didn't take long for us to find the missing members because they were in the ballroom eating handouts. These guys looked like they were in their late 50s. I must stress that the ballroom was empty. They were the only ones there. I approached them skittishly and told them that they were a part of our team and that they needed to come with us. Keep in mind, I am an 18-year-old talking to 4 fully grown adults who clearly think I'm being a brat. They basically blew me off and grumbled about how they weren't finished eating and that they'll come when they're ready. Dyla and I got pretty annoyed by this, but we most definitely did not have the confidence to try and rebuttal them. Also, the food they were eating was bite-sized. It doesn't take long to eat them. And they were kind of spoiling the game for us, because now we were going to be behind the other teams. And I must stress once more, no one else was in the ballroom but them. So that means we had the bad luck of being teammates with the only people at the event who did not come here for the puzzles or riddles. Little tip for people who do not like puzzles or riddles, don't come to an event with puzzles and riddles! Dyla and I went back to the Chamberlain with our heads hung low in defeat, and told her that they refused to come with us. The Chamberlain sighed in disappointment. The nice couple came back, and we informed them about the uncooperative teammates. They were just as equally pissed off as we were. We all waited for about 10 minutes more, watching the other teammates run around the museum and find things, having fun and role-playing and solving puzzles, while we were still waiting. Suddenly our game leader stood up and said, "Alright, let's just get started. They'll start when they get here." She informed us that around the boat there were notes about what had stopped it from moving. We were given 3 hints of where these notes were. We decided to split up again so that we could try and catch up to the other groups. We gave one of the hints to the nice couple, kept one for ourselves, and made the Chamberlain keep the last one to give to our 4 late members. Our hint told us to go to the beach houses, which were really close to the coastal trade. These beach houses were some really old-fashioned batches that kind of showed off how old batches used to look. Anyway, we searched throughout these houses and found the note inside of the oven. After reading it, it became clear that it was some kind of puzzle piece of half of its phrase was cut off, as if someone had ripped a letter into multiple pieces. Excitedly, we went back to the chambermaid, only to find that our tardy members had finally shown up. We begrudgingly helped them find their puzzle piece, and the nice couple found us after a short while with their puzzle piece. Finally, we were all caught up and our Chamberlain took us to the cartography room to meet up with the green team, who had been waiting on us for a while now. After a small amount of banter with the green team, I met a disgraced musician who was very interested in my strange theories. She wrote a small song about how the birds are spies with her ukulele. We finally got into assembling the puzzle. The green team had 3 more notes, and now we just had to figure out how the ripped pieces of the letter tied together. After a lot of bickering and tape, we figured out what the letter said. Now I can't remember what it said, but it was basically a poem about how a kraken is holding the boat hostage. Yep, you heard me. A kraken. An interdimensional kraken is hugging our boat and not letting it go. Can't make this stuff up. All of our characters began to freak out until the leaders of each team got our attention and told us that we need to figure out a way to get the kraken to let go. Cue a chorus of ideas from killing the beast to asking it politely to let go. My character was mumbling about how the kraken is probably some kind of government spy. Eventually, we all agreed that we were going to soothe the kraken into letting go of the boat by singing a kind of lullaby. Yep, that's what we came up with. We each wrote down soothing words on a piece of paper and then chanted them like a cult. The disgraced musician strummed her ukulele, but it was all pretty out of tune and we sounded horrible. A very loud sound went off when we had finished our, song? I guess it was the sound of the kraken letting go of the ship. And apparently it meant that we had won! The kraken was defeated! The ship could continue on with no more delays. We all went back into the ballroom to find that all of the groups had finished their games far earlier than we had, and now they were enjoying the music and partying, so we joined them. After dancing and mingling, the captain got our attention once more. He thanked everyone for helping out. Apparently there were a few things wrong with the ship. A couple groups were doing the Kraken storyline while others were doing a storyline where it had something to do with the old captain dying and cursing the ship. And there was a third storyline, but I don't remember it. The rest of the night was fun and we ate bite-sized nibbles and had a tiny bit of alcohol. But then Dyla and I got tired, so we said goodbye and went home. Now, I had a lot of fun at this event, even though it was hardly a LARPing event. Most people were just focusing on the riddles and puzzles, and didn't really want to roleplay. But every once in a while you did find someone who was willing to play with you, so I still consider it my first LARPing event. I do think that the event could have been handled better in some areas. I also think that the puzzle could have been a little bit harder, but I'm kind of glad it was easy, as our group was very behind thanks to our tardy members. And if the puzzles were harder, it would have probably led to the green team waiting even longer for us, and I would feel super guilty. Overall, I had a really good time and met some really awesome people and some not awesome people. I'm really excited to go to my first legitimate LARP in October and see how different it is from this experience. My assumption is it'll be very different since this is a legit LARPing event and the game masters of this event have held LARPing events in the past, so they're clearly qualified. But I guess we'll see. Thank you for watching, and I hope I didn't bore you to death. Bye!